Nowadays, schooling is done virtually using the latest and greatest technology, but check out the classroom setting back in the 1890s. For this next story, class is in session as we take you to a place preserving the Poconos past.
And here we have some utensils, scoops and spoons and forks.
Rachel Kresge lives in the 1800s and shows us how cooking is done on her family's farm.
Here we have a couple of kitchen instruments from things that could be found on the farm.
Although her performance is quite convincing, Rachel is actually a tour guide at Quiet Valley Living Historical Farm near Stroudsburg.
We have family members who are pretending they're living in the 1800s, going about their daily chores and tasks, and they'll ask you to pretend that you are also in the 1800s and learn from them what happens on a typical family farm.
Quiet Valley makes learning fun for all ages.
Unlike a regular museum where you would kind of just be standing answering questions next to something in a case, we get to interact with them and we get to pick things up and share it with them and show them what we're doing and let them feel things and touch things. And I think it's the best way to learn history.
Quiet Valley offers tours and events, like crafting and gardening classes.
Part of our mission is to try to keep these old skills alive and still in use.
In its heyday, this was a viable farm with more than 100 apple trees, dozens of sheep used for wool, and fields of grain crop.
The two major industries in Monroe County were the farms and the resorts.
In the late 1950s, new owners bought the farm with plans to build a housing development. But after inheriting the old buildings and farm equipment, they formulated a new plan.
By 1963, the farm then opened for the first time to the public, interpreting 19th century farming, using in many cases the artifacts that were left behind.
And the interactive farm museum has operated ever since. Plus, it's still a fully functioning farm with crops and animals, which kids like 2-year-old Colton love.
We get to see the animals, we walk through the gardens, sometimes we get to pet the animals.
On your tour of Quiet Valley, you'll get to experience several old structures, including the family's original home and kitchen area, a one-room schoolhouse, and the grandparents' house.
But we also do the spinning and weaving in there, so the textile work. We talk about how they would have gotten their clothing, what would they need, how did they dye the wool.
Quiet Valley's leaders say it's important to keep this history alive now more than ever.
Particularly, I'd say in the last 10 years, we are getting visitors who really have no connection to farming. Prior to that, many of our visitors could remember their grandfather's farm, or they had some kind of farming background in their history. Today, much of that is lost,
but being rediscovered.
One of our goals is to make the connection from the past to the present and what it could mean for your future, too.
If you'd like to visit Quiet Valley for a workshop or a tour, of course, the schoolhouse would be part of that. You can find more information on quietvalley.org. For Pocono Television Network, I'm Brianna Strunk.